At my middle school, we had a vice principal who fancied herself a dictator. Any tiny bit of power she got was an issue. But I was a middle schooler at the time and a good kid not often in trouble, so I didn't cross her path until 8th grade. Her friend was a bus driver named Pat. For 6th and 7th grade years, we had an awesome bus driver. He was nice to the kids, let us put the windows down when the Georgia heat got too much, etc. But he retired, and the bus driver we got was an extremely angry middle-aged woman named Pat, who did not like children and made that clear every day. The windows stay up or we go back to the school. She would yell as she had the only fan blowing in her face on a 100-plus degree school bus. Ostensibly, this was to keep us from throwing things out of the bus, but that was never an issue before or after. The real reason was that before the bus driver could leave the bus at the end of the day, all the windows had to be back up and locked. So this saved her effort. My bus stop was the first she drove by, but the last to pick up, and had been that way for years. Pat changed this and decided she only wanted to stop on the first pass by and kept threatening to leave the kids in my neighborhood if we made her stop twice. I first got on the Karen Vice President Karen's radar because Pat left me on the side of a very busy road one morning. She could have stopped but wagged her finger at me as she drove away and left me. I flipped off the kids laughing at me out of the back window, but the bus driver Pat thought I was flipping her off. I didn't get suspended because she left me with no way to get to school on the side of an extremely busy road, and my mom threatened to sue if it happened again. But after that, they had it out for me. Pat tried several times to get me on anything. She even coached a kid to say I bullied him, but when the Real principal brought in the kid, he said, "No, OP is my friend, it was those other kids." And a bunch of other little shit. Anything to get me in trouble. So the petty revenge comes in here. I was doing my best to make the bus driver's life hell in little passive-aggressive ways. She got annoyed at anything, so it was easy. But Karen was harder to do anything to. After fighting with the bus driver and the assistant principal for most of the year, revenge came in the form of a police fundraiser. They were advertising it on the local TV news and local radio stations. If you put someone up for arrest, the cops would show up and throw someone in handcuffs and put them in jail until they could call a few people and fundraise the bail. The person who set up the arrest had to pay like $10, but worth it. My mom, after being annoyed by Pat and Karen all year, put Karen, the assistant principal, up for arrest. The cops showed up and took her to the room where she could call her friends and raise the money for her to go. The idea was that Mom was going to keep having her arrested as long as she could. Except no one would give her the bail money, not even for a charity. So she ended up missing most of a day sitting in the police precinct trying to get anyone to put up enough money for her to leave. Eventually, the cops told my mom that they had to let her go because it had gone on too long. She was the only one who didn't raise the bail money that day. Letting her know exactly how much she meant to everyone at the school felt great. I had a friend who heard her complaining about it later that day. She had called the principal, who did donate some, but the other teachers gave nothing and none of her friends would help out. She apparently thought one of the teachers put her up for it. So minor and so petty it almost doesn't count. But when I left that school at the end of the year, Mom went up and asked her, "How was jail?" before we walked away for the last time. First time I ever heard a re-e sound from a human. Comment. They were advertising it on the local TV news and local radio stations. If you put someone up for arrest, the cops would show up and throw someone in handcuffs and put them in jail until they could call a few people and fundraise the bail. The person who set up the arrest had to pay like $10, but worth it. What in the actual fuck? I guess the arrested person had to agree to be taken, right? Right? Comment. I'm from a very small town, and in the 80s this was a thing there too. I think the jail was in the town hall or maybe at the TV station because you could watch the people in the fake jail. Nobody said no to being arrested because it was for charity and supposed to be in good fun. The mayor, principals, the presidents of the Lions Club and Rotary, etc., would get locked up throughout the day, sometimes multiple times. But our high school also had slave for a day sales. So yeah, super cool. Comment. Love the vengeance and Mom's dig at the end of the year. Now, about those bus windows, Pat was an idiot. Closing the windows on a full-size bus was the easiest thing in the world. We drivers took our bus push brooms and walked around the outside of the bus. pushing the windows up as we went. All windows on a 35-foot school bus were shut in 2 to 3 minutes max. Plus, it had the added satisfaction of feeling like you were slamming down an old-school phone handset. Edit typos. Comment. Or you could have a bus driver like mine. You can put the window down, but you're not getting off the bus unless you put it up. She wasn't mean about it, just stern. We were fairly well-behaved kids, so usually it was from forgetting, not spite, but she'd look back in the mirror, and if we didn't notice, we would get to the front and then have to go all the way back and close the window. We never hated her because she set expectations early and was lenient sometimes when we were goofing around. Perfect blend between no nonsense and letting us be kids. Comment. If you're doing your job right, you gotta walk around anyway to do a check on the bus's status, so it isn't like it's that much more effort. Pat is the sort of worker I hate having to work after because you'll find a bunch of stuff broken or wrong and they'll swear up and down they did their check and it was fine, but the previous checks were also fine, so they whine that someone has it out for them and must have screwed with their machine. Fuck you, that's what the checks are for. If I see it's wrong and you didn't catch it, that's your fault. Please leave your story in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to get new update. Thank you.